the competition on data segment, especially as we see Orange and Vodafone going fast on this segment? How do you see?
You know, we've always enjoyed a nice position in the data segment because we always had the first products in that segment. The thing that has driven, there are two things that drive mobile data. One is the market of data totally, because if you look in the beginning, our customers were not really mobile. They were buying our product because there was no other solution. And in a lot of markets, they will continue to buy our product because there's no other solution, because it's more cost effective. Whether we use the 2100 network or the 450 network, it's sometimes more cost effective to cover a neighborhood with wireless than it is with cable or fiber. And as you know, in Bucharest, for example, a lot of the fiber has to disappear from the poles, which means it'll go underground. But Bucharest is probably not a good example. So from that point of view, we've learned the market more than most people. We have a good representative sample of the market on our network. So I'm comfortable we have the information that we need. On what the competition is doing, well, you know, the competition has woken up a little late in what's going on there, and based on their technology also. One of the problems is that UMTS technology has been very late. These type of speeds were promised to us, you know, 5 years ago. 3G, quote-unquote 3G 2100 speeds. So the competition is taking advantage of the fact that the technology now exists and the standard frequencies that they have. But I think that if you look at the market in Romania, the driving factor for the need for data is PC penetration. And if we've been following very closely PC penetration and laptop penetration in Romania, and 4 years ago, 5 years ago when we started, that was the limiting factor. You can't sell more than X% of the population that has a PC, because nobody needs data if you don't have a PC. The PC penetration in Romania has been accelerating tremendously. And the notebook penetration has been accelerating because the delta in the price between a notebook and a desktop is much, much smaller now. It used to be 3 or 4 times the price for a notebook, now it's 20% more for a notebook. So you see a lot of the younger and older population with notebooks, which means portability, not necessarily mobility. So the whole market is exploding for it. On top of that, you see a price drop. I mean, we were testing Linux-based notebooks that cost to the consumer with no subsidy is 300 euros, including VAT.
Speaking of price, will you go below the market price right now set by Vodafone and Orange?
For data?
Yes.
It depends what, you know, check what they sell. There's always a little caveat to what they sell, right? They have lots of packages from X, you know, single-digit euros all the way to 30 or 40 euros. Everybody has different packages, and you buy different things.
But will you keep the data prepay offer also for the new network?
Yeah, we'll always have prepaid for data. But by profitability, we're not the fourth.
Okay, thank you.
Right? By profitability, we're not the fourth. I mean, it's really simple. If you look at what we reported last year versus what the quote-unquote next small one is, it's not hard to do the math. What counts is your profitability, though.
And the profitability will be?
Profitability is, you know, EBITDA, we're EBITDA positive. So what we care about is whether we generate
operators.
On the margins?
Yes.
No, we're probably well.
Say what was the question again?
In line with the other operators. You know, the other operators range from negative to very positive. So yeah, we're in line with them. We're somewhere in there.
They just say a figure.
No, we're not disclosing.
I didn't mean I meant Orange and Vodafone.
No,
Okay,
by definition, we're not in line with Orange and Vodafone. They're dominant operators in a market that is 80% owned by them. So
He was talking about only about the margins.
the margins. On the gross margins, probably. On the net margins, not. Right?
Okay.
This business is a capex business. It's you know, the only thing that kills margins in our business is interconnect costs, right? And the other operators continue to be very difficult on interconnect. So that's what keeps the prices as high as they are today. I mean, Romania has lower prices than average, but it still has much higher prices than it could if the operators were a bit more cooperative on interconnect.
Do we have more questions?
Yes.
We have, you know that we have approximately half a million customers.
Last summer.
Yeah, last summer, but that's the only
It
number.
hasn't
we
really
know.
changed. Have you seen us advertising in the last year? No. So it's not going to be much higher, if anything, right? So it doesn't take a rocket scientist either to figure that one out. But let's say the difference with a new operator is that we have most of our costs covered, if not all of our costs covered, right? So now it's basically adding customers to it. Adding customers to it depends on what type of product you add. So if you add a prepaid product, there's almost no subscriber acquisition cost. If you add SME or a postpaid product, there's more of a subscriber acquisition. And there's a payback to every single subscriber that you add. And so you've seen that this company has not had a strategy for the last 15 months, if not 18 or 24 months. We now have a major change in technology and network rollout. We have a major expansion of the 450 network, right? Which will allow us to give better service and to more people, by definition, because we're doing more than 50% expansion of our network. So already we have nationwide coverage, but some parts of the nationwide coverage need improvement. All those areas will be improved. New areas will be covered, which means new potential customers, and also new customers in areas that are covered that want to go to those coverage areas. Because as you know, in the mobility product, what counts is where you cover. So by definition, we should have no handicaps on that front whatsoever against anybody. On top of that, when you look at the data network, our data network will cover twice or 3 times the square kilometers of anybody else when we start rolling out into the rural areas, because the cost efficiency of the 450 network is unrivaled anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So
when your sales, sorry to interrupt you, but when your salespeople go to the customer, they will have to cut him a good bargain.
yeah.
And that's
And the good bargain is a result of the fact that we run a cost-effective network.
Payback to all the mobile operators usually is between 3 months to maybe 1 year. So will be in the same range if you want to know exact figures. And it's not it depends on the product. If you talk about payback, because acquisition cost
It's very rare that we have more than 12-month payback on any customer. Prepaid market is almost instant payback.
Already customers.
Okay. Yeah.
So you must offer me something which to switch from Vodafone to Zapp.
Telemobil has been around for a long time, right? But with the CDMA network, 99.x%
Yes,
of our
but
customers
we
were
take it as
on
granted.
GSM.
We take it as granted. Do you have coverage? Yes, we take it as granted.
Right.
I wouldn't expect you wouldn't have that. But to move me, to switch me from my current operator to you will have to give me some bargain. And that means...
But you see, our prices today are already anywhere between 20 and 70% cheaper than our competition. But we haven't advertised that, because we haven't spent money with your other colleagues, which we plan to do shortly. So
it's not entirely correct to say that in all the segments of the market, the customers are already taken by the existing operators. There are some market segments that are still growing, like the data segment, mobile data, right? As Chris has mentioned, we actually believe there's quite a lot of growth left in this segment, based on our experience in other countries. So we see I think the point that's being made is that to the extent that there are customers to be had in the various segments, certainly on the data side, we see no reason why we wouldn't get something close to our fair share, because your share is based, first of all, on your ability to deliver a quality product to the market, which we feel we will be able to do in this area. And then it's also a price point issue, and then share of mind, advertising stuff, where I think we'll always be below the big players in that area. So maybe we won't get exactly our fair share, but we'll get a decent share. That's in that market. And then for the other markets, it's true that the penetration in Romania is already very, very high. However, that's also true in other countries. There is a natural rotation in that market, and if you calculate how many subscribers that means, just the rotation, it's certainly enough to make an operator like Zapp have a decent business, provided that we can improve the quality of our offering. I think this has been one of the issues for us, which we're addressing, through this rollout, hopefully. If customers perceive us to have a higher quality offering in all the different segments that we choose to be present in, then we will be in a situation where we can get closer to our fair share of the subs.